and I couldn't even join. I don't know. So what's up, guys?
What's up, brothers?
What's going on? So you had a question about building a property. Go ahead and ask a question regarding building a property.
Yeah. So my question was this, because I have 3 lots. So like I wasn't sure whether I should focus on in the future trying to build a house on one of those, or if I should just try to sell it and then hold that money so I could look for a property that's already built and try to invest in that, because I'm thinking about investing into a rental property.
Okay, so one, you can always build a rental property, but I can't really tell you exactly what to do. You're gonna have to do some more research. So I'll give you an example. In New Jersey, in New York, I ran the numbers. It's really hard to own a rental property. The numbers are so tight, the cap rates are so low that in a lot of the areas, if I bought a rental property and put 20% down and rented it out, I would break even. So I wouldn't really make much cash flow. I would only be betting on appreciation. In Florida, it's easier to do rental property. Florida, Texas, Arizona, it's a lot easier to buy rental property and to say renovate it and rent it out. In Florida, it is difficult to buy. In most areas, it's difficult to buy a property, demolish it, and build a $1 million home and sell it. That's rare. It's harder to do that profitably. Some areas it can be done, but it's overall, in general, it's not really a strategy that would work for everybody. In New Jersey, most of the people that I know that are in the real estate business are actually buying old beat-up homes, bulldozing them, and putting $1.5 million homes. Specifically for your market, I don't know your market. I would have to study your market and do an analysis to see, is it worth keeping the land? Should I build a new home or a multi-unit on one piece of land? Should I sell all the lots and buy something existing and just do some value add? That specific answer would require research. And that's why I say study your market. Because when you study your market and you run the numbers in each scenario, you're going to see what is the best return on your investment for your money and for your time. Because there is some ideas that I have, and I said, this is an amazing idea and it's a great idea. The issue is for me in my position, and remember, always play your position, it would take me 10 years to accomplish this. So instead of me waiting, and most of the people that I'm seeing will sit on the sideline and wait 10 years to do this thing, what ends up happening is if they just did smaller stuff along the way, yeah, it's not as flashy as this one idea up here. But if they just smaller stuff along the way, they would have made way more money than that one flashy thing. And normally 10 years later, that plan that they had that was really cool didn't matter, because at that point, that got even harder to get to. So you have to be considerate of it. So play your position, go for something attainable, make some of your profits, and work your way up to it. Because if you're not in the business of building and you do not have connections with builders, it is not the easiest thing to do right away. And again, if you don't know it very well, you're gonna probably overpay. So that's something you have to consider. It's like you do not want to overpay and overspend your new home, build or multi-unit build.
Okay, so yeah, so network as much as possible first, figure out those numbers like you said, and then compare whether it's better to buy one that's already built or build one.
And the thing is, do not also go, remember, just keep this in mind. Be considerate who you're asking this information from, because you might ask a builder, is it better to build? He's gonna say it's better to build. You're gonna ask a realtor, is it better to buy something finished? They're gonna say it's better to buy something finished. You're gonna ask each person, a handyman, is it better to buy a new home or to renovate one that's older? He might say it's better to renovate something older. So be considerate who you're talking to and their opinion. Listens to the positive things they say, listen to the negative things they say. And then you are gonna be the one to analyze and determine what works best for your situation. Because the builder is gonna want you to build something new. The realtor is gonna want you to buy something existing. The handyman is gonna want you to remodel something existing. Everyone's gonna have their opinion. So you have to figure out what your investing philosophy is and what your style is, and then go and execute on that.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
My turn.
Ramon, what's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, thank God. How are you doing?
Good, man. Blessed. I told Tarek's a good friend of mine. He's done like a lot of shows with us and performed with us and getting toured with us. So I told him that you were the guy to ask. So I'm happy he came in today and asked you.
Nice.
Hey, so I just want a question. So for with everything going on like in the political environment and Biden talking about potentially getting rid of the 1031 exchange, whether or not that actually happens is another thing. But can you explain like how that would not only impact like large investors who potentially make that $500,000 capital? I'm sorry, $500,000 capital gains. Like not only will it impact them, but how it also impact like newbie investors, small time investors, single home family investors. Like I know a lot of times people think like, hey, this is gonna impact like the big guys, but also can you like walk us through how it's gonna impact everyone?
So let me say this, like me and your brother-in-law have been friends forever. And he used to be like a hardcore Republican and now he's like a hardcore liberal. And for me, none of that matters. It's all economics. And I tell him about certain principles on either side and how it's gonna affect the market. None of that matters for me because no matter which way it gets cut, I'm gonna find a way to win because this is my game. I have fun doing this. So if you're talking to someone that this is their game and you increase their tax bracket for some reason, they're gonna find a way to go into a market that isn't gonna bother them. And that might be where you are right now. So for example, the 1031 exchange is supposed to be limited to say like 500K. If that gets limited 500K, what they're gonna stop doing is getting into major deals and they're gonna start going into smaller deals. So then you guys are gonna be knocked out of the water. Yeah. Now, that market is already super tight right now. Deals under $500,000, super tight. All the deals I'm looking at are over $500,000 because there's less players involved. It's not a feeding frenzy. A property under $350,000, almost anywhere in the country, is super hard to find. And it's even as an occupancy, like for like you want to live in it. And if you're talking about for investment, it's almost like impossible to find a good duplex for under 400K in a good area. Like it's really, really hard. So what will happen is let's look at the macro picture. If that happens, all of the big players are going to go start buying smaller pieces of real estate to avoid the taxes. Because when you get to a certain level, it isn't about making more money. So I have one of my clients. He has a doctorate degree in artificial intelligence. He works for Apple and he makes a lot of money, over 400K. So he's doing investments now and he's realizing, because he's new to making this big money. He's realizing, wow, every dollar that I make, 50% of it goes to taxes. And he was really enjoying making more money. But now he's realizing, wait, it's not how much money I make. It's how much money I make net taxes. So he's changing what he's buying and where he's putting his money to be able to keep more money, net taxes. So what they're going to happen is all of these players are going to get into the under $500,000 market if this gets passed. So inflation on the asset prices for under $500,000 are going to go up a lot, which I'm cool with because I already own a bunch, that's where they say the rich get richer. Because if you manipulate the system, people that are playing the game are going to figure out another way to win because that's what they're into. So what I would do, right? You're saying, because the real question is, Pascal, we get it, but what can I do about this? This is what I would do, right? Because if they're going to play with my game, I'm going to figure out another way to win, which I would end up not being concerned about the 1031 exchange. I would then just sell. I'll get hit with the tax and the 1031 exchange. I'll buy another property. I will do a cost segregation model on that property, have a write-off on that tax on that property. So I made tax here. The new property I bought, I do a cost seg model, write off losses, and that losses will write off the gain over here. I just have to make sure that I execute both plans within that same tax year. And then that would be one of my plans I would do.
That's cool. Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's actually like another reason that got me thinking about why maybe I should just build a property rather than try to find one. Because I feel like by the time I am able to acquire one, if this bill passes, I feel like it'd be a lot harder to find anything.
Well, or sell all three right now. Like sell all three right now, use that money to buy something right now so you can ride the inflation wave. Because for you the cost of lumber has tripled, and depends on how far back you look, has quadrupled. A piece of, I just bought a bunch of 2x4x8 pieces of lumber. Those used to go for like $2 to $3 a board. They're now almost $8 a board. So if you're building a house from scratch, it's going to be expensive. And then for you to get a loan to build a house from scratch, you might not be able to, because you really have to be in a good financial position for the bank to give you the money to do that. So you could, one, sell 2 lots, use the money from the 2 lots to help fund the down payment for building the property, or sell all 3 and use that money to buy a property. The tax you would owe on selling those 3, you're going to use that money to, or the profit you make from selling all 3 lots, you'll use that money to buy the next property. And then you're going to write down that property. What does that mean, write down? Write down means you're going to depreciate the property or have a paper loss, and that paper loss should wipe away the profit you made on selling the pieces of land. So tax-wise, you shouldn't have a net difference. And then you can afford to buy the new property now. And then the inflation should help you, gain a bunch of appreciation.
Do you think that like you'll do funds where you'll start raising capital and
so I have a $3 million fund that I'm almost closed on. So I just raised, currently I've raised, I think, about $1.5 million in the last week. And I have the other 1.5 million to do. And honestly, I probably could have already finished raising the money for it, but I just been so busy with getting tax season over and the mortgage company and all that busyness going on for me to close it out. So this is called the Old Southeast Fund. I'm buying a bunch of property in the Old Southeast of St. Pete. So if you saw a couple of days ago, I was where DeSantis, I was with, I was at the speech where DeSantis was at. Right down there, they're building 7 skyscrapers. So I'm buying a whole bunch of properties on the streets right below it. And they're in that area, but all the homes under 400 grand are being purchased and they're being demolished and they're building $1.5 million houses. So I'm buying all the multi-units that I can get in that neighborhood that is reasonable. So I'm picking up a 4-plex for $900,000. I'm picking up a triplex and a duplex for $600,000 a piece. And I'm doing value add and renting. And then we're going to obviously remodel them, rent them out. Basically BRRRR, multi-unit properties. I already have the funding set up with the bank for the purchase and the reno. And then once it's completed and been renting for 1 year, the bank's going to give us back all of the money we spent on the property. So in say 2 years, we'll have no money in the deal. We'll have all the $3 million back and we'll use that money to do another group of properties. So we're not going to do a distribution. We might be paying out 8% dividend roughly, but everything else that we're getting from the cash out refis, we're using that to buy another roughly $3 million is what we're raising. So we're going to buy about $12 million worth of real estate. We'll get another $3 million, buy another $12 million worth of real estate. At that point, we're probably going to do that one time. After that time, we're probably just going to close it out. And then from that point, we're going to start doing distributions because I don't want the fund to be over. I don't want the fund to be over $26 million because then there's certain other things that happen tax-wise we have to do. And I don't want to have to focus on that. So, so then we'll do another round and then we'll do probably the next round is probably going to be a $6 million raise. And then from there, 12 to eventually we're going to have a 50 or $100 million raise. And then in mixed with the real estate, the other thing, a lot of you guys probably don't know about this but you can buy mortgage notes. So I'm going to go and start buying private seller notes on homes. So say you bought a house with owner financing. I'm going to go to that guy who gave you the mortgage, and I'm going to buy that from him. So I'm going to own the mortgages on these properties. So now I own these properties. So before the flipper gets it and everybody else gets it, when that guy say defaults or doesn't want the property anymore, I'll basically tell him, hey, if you don't want it anymore, let me know. I'll buy it off of you. So now I'm not going through the flipper and all these other guys, paying them a premium for it. No, I get it directly at a discount. I've got the property and I can remodel it, or I could flip it. But I'm going directly to the source to get deals. And if they don't end up selling it, whatever. I'm still collecting a nice check for the fund for the money to roll in. Another portion of
they'll just keep paying you, right? Like instead of paying the previous owner,
I'm the bank. Yeah. So I'm the lender now. So the checks are going to come to us. So now we got these different sections of the fund. The next section of the fund is like about 5 to 10%. I'm going to throw into crypto to let it ride. To let it ride into the crypto fund, let it have some type of, because some of the people don't touch crypto at all. Like I did it on IG. I ran a question: how many people own crypto? And this is like a younger crowd, right? Like IG is roughly say 25 to 50. I think only 20% said that they owned any crypto.
Wow.
So even the younger group doesn't have crypto, which is kind of crazy. So this is going to be great for there to be exposure to the crypto market. The last part of this fund that I'm having in this system is we're going to be investing in green, clean energy. So when you are extracting oil out of the ground, there is a process where you're cleaning the equipment and other items. And there is a process to clean everything called CO2 scrubbing. So as they're extracting the CO2, normally they would have to take this product all the way to a factory, clean it, and then they would bring it back. Well, there's basically tankers, like semis, with a piece of equipment that the equipment gets dropped off. So the cleaning happens at the actual location. So now there's not the expense of traveling back and forth. As it's being cleaned, the CO2 is being cleaned out of the systems. They have the CO2 and all this off product. This off product is actually a very clean fracking material. So this clean fracking material gets re-injected into the ground, which is what the government wants, because now it's putting CO2 back into the ground. And as it's doing that, it helps the oil company to actually pull more oil out of the ground. So that whole process is green, and we get a cut of the profits for them to do it. Now, why I think it's so amazing is because if you made a ton of money in crypto, you got a big tax problem. Because I'm talking to some people now that want to invest with me, and they got big crypto tax problems. Because I know some people that have like millions in crypto. So when you invest in this green technology, the government gives you a 100% tax write-off for the money you invested. So you put in $300K, you got a $300,000 write-off. So if we properly leverage it, and we're working on the details of this, if we properly leverage it, because we're talking about cash investments, we're not talking about leveraging debt to help accelerate the returns. If we properly leverage it, we could get a 300% tax write-off. So you put in $300,000, you would get a $900,000 tax write-off. So if you're selling $1 million of your Dogecoin, because you're a Dogecoin millionaire, you put $300K of that money into this fund, you could potentially get $900,000 tax write-off. And because if you don't do that, when you sell your Doge and you have a short-term capital gains, you're peaking minimum 35% tax bracket before you have the ultimate minimum tax and before you have your state of California tax. So you're at least 50%. So at least $500,000 of the $1 million that you would have made would be going to the government. But if you invested $300K of the million into the fund, You would get a $900,000 tax write-off, and it's not like the 300K disappeared. That 300K is being invested for you and you're earning a return on it. So all of this is happening within the fund. So I can eventually equate, I'm looking to average a minimum of 15% internal rate of return on the people's money with zero taxable gains. There would be no tax on the money. So all the money is netting into the pocket.
Let's go. That's awesome. You could do that at smaller scales too, right? Like if someone sold like 40K or 50K.
Yeah, like so normally my minimum like that this normally most of the people that are investing with me are putting up 300K. Like you don't have to put up 300K. Like you can. So this is the thing. So I'm SEC. Rachel, the writer, is saying that she's raising $1.5 million. You have to be careful when you're raising money. I'm actually registering with the SEC, so they know what I'm doing. If you don't, you're technically committing a crime because you can't raise money and take people's money without disclosing this to the SEC and having a prospectus. So I'm actually doing it with the SEC. We're doing that prospectus. All of this is getting done. So and what is allowed is for people that I know or friends of people that I know are allowed to invest with me. So let me clarify this. You're required to be an accredited investor if you invest in most of these funds. To be an accredited investor means you have a $1 million net worth, not counting your home, or you make at least $200,000 a year for the last 2 years, and you're perceived to continue making that in the future. If you don't qualify, that means you can't invest. Now, what is allowable is inside of this fund, they will allow 35 people to also invest as long as they're friends and family. If they're friends and family or they're a friend of a friend, they're allowed to invest because as long as you're referred in. So I can't literally say, like right now, Ramon referred you. I've known Ramon for a while, so I could let you in. But if you didn't know Ramon, I couldn't let you in. Legally, I would not be allowed to let you in because I don't know you. So in that scenario, we're allowed to have 35 people that are not accredited, that aren't worth at least $1 million into the fund. So we are allowed to have 35 people in the fund that are not millionaires as long as they know somebody that I know.
I'm not sure what happened to Ramon, but
Probably lost internet connection. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your help for friendship that person too. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Good night. Rachel, the writer, says, hey, 35 friends. Yeah. Now, normally to register for the SEC, to file your company as exempt for your syndication is between like $15,000 to $25,000 is the legal costs. Thanks, guys, for all the love, for all the likes. I really appreciate it. It's really, it's a great way to show thank you for all the work that we put into bringing you all this content. And again, subscribe to the channel and, ask your questions. What's up, guys?
Hey, Pascal, how are you?
Good. How are you?
It's a great talk, great questions, and much greater answers. And thank you very much for it.
You're very welcome.
For everything. So my question is, he's my partner, by the way. My name is Eddie. I was just trying to connect with you
Yes.
a couple minutes ago. What I put on. So we just started to investing in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And we're new actually, but my partner, he knows the how to do renovation and everything.
Good.
And we just got a house in Jacksonville downtown.
Okay.
And
Good.
we put 5 months our sweat equity.
Okay.
And we spent like $50,000 for just material costs.
All right. It's a lot.
It is nice for the small house.
And it's like we just got the house $15,000 purchase price.
You bought the house for $15,000. Nice.
Yeah, just 15, $15,000 purchase price.
That's cheap for downtown. That's cheap for downtown Jacksonville.
It's not like Tampa, so it's totally different.
No, I know Jacksonville. I know because I have a church up in Jacksonville. I used to visit it.
Yeah, so we put $50,000 for the just material cost, and we just painting left and flooring.
Good,
and
good.
The problem is we just got the stop work order from the city.
Because you didn't pull permits.
There we are.
Yeah.
We did electric, but we didn't do the roofing actually.
So let me stop you right there.
Go ahead.
In Florida, because I sell insurance in Florida and I sell insurance in Jacksonville. I have a lot of clients in Jacksonville. You have to get a permit for the roof.